Hi everybody, I'm Stefan Kesting from grappelarts.com. This is Rob Bernacki, a Jiu-Jitsu black belt, a guy I've learned a ton from, and he's going to show us a way to shut down the Toreando guard pass if you're on the bottom. It'll work gi and no gi. And I just want to say a quick word before we get started. What this is a sort of an excerpt or a preview of some of the things we're putting into our bottom game formula, which is an upcoming instructional, or depending when you're watching this, it will already have been released. If you look for BJJ bottom game formula, you'll find out more information about it. So can you take us through the Toreando, why it's a problem, and what to do about it, please?
Yes, absolutely. So first off, the Toreando or Bullfighter, is a pass that in particular beginners struggle with, although it works at all levels. And the reason, and also not just beginners, but people who are transitioning from no-gi to gi, because there's an element of control that just doesn't exist in no-gi. The Toreando pass almost is not applicable in no-gi, although there are variations that do work. And before we go on, I just want to make a quick distinction between old school Toreando and new school Toreando. So if I can just get you on your back. So the old school version of the Toreando, I'm making my grips and I'm pulling Stefan's legs down as I step past him or drop my shoulder. The more new school, which Leandro Lowe is the foremost practitioner of this, is when you get your grips, you push the hip away and then drive the leg down. I'm a big proponent of the new school version just because, frankly, if you keep your knees towards your chest and don't let me pull your legs down, really, really difficult. But if you do the same thing while I do that, it's much more difficult to hold. All right, so as I stretch you out, I'm actually breaking your structure and weakening you. So this will work against both versions. And again, there's the gi version where I make sleeve grips, and whichever way Stefan goes, I simply extend my arm and go into base so that I can hip escape. This is an illustration of the concept of lever and hip escape. There are several different movements and two intercepts that we use when we conceptually defend our guard with guard retention movements. Conceptually, again, we're trying to block the leading edge. In this case, it's Stefan's shoulder. The leading edge blocking the leading edge allows me to recompose my hip angle. So I can use a frame or a lever to intercept and block the leading edge, and then I can mobilize my hips with either a Granby, a hip escape, or a high leg. So in this case, we're demonstrating a lever and a hip escape for the mobilization. So once again, the gi version, I grab the sleeves, and as Stefan picks a direction, I simply extend, accessing the end of the lever, which is at his wrist, going into base, and then hip escaping, recovering my guard. The no-gi version, because I don't have the luxury of grabbing his sleeve, I'm going to grab his elbow. As he turns, I'm going to extend away and hip escape.
So you're turning your hips away, which is
Yes.
kind of 100 years ago is the wrong thing to do.
Yes.
Because you're giving your back, but you're not giving your back at all.
Exactly. And if we can add one more detail, as Stefan is starting to push aside here, if I'm able to turn my knee this way, it actually makes it even easier to block. Because if I'm turning away, which this works fine, it works great, but if I turn in, now I can access this lever even more while still maintaining a frame in between us. And this is how I try to do this a little bit more nowadays. Just push away and hip escape.
Can you just show that motion by yourself, please?
Absolutely. So sleeve grip, extending and getting into base, hip escaping, recomposing my guard. Elbow grip, getting into base, hip escaping and recomposing my guard. Or turning in, blocking the elbow, getting into base, recomposing my guard.
So in all three cases, you're blocking the arm, you're using it as a lever
Exactly.
to affect how I can move my weight. You're sitting up, and then you're doing a big giant hip escape to get back out and recompose guard.
Exactly. And important note, getting to my elbow is going to work sometimes. Getting to my hand is going to work pretty much every time. The reason for that is just this is mobilizing my hips more. This gives me more range of motion. If I get to my elbow, it's absolutely not wrong. This totally works. But if I build to my hand, I'm creating more range of motion for my hips. So my hip escape will be much more powerful. I'll get greater range on it.
Okay.
The trade-off really is that if there's enough pressure sometimes, I won't be able to build to my hand. So it's one of those, ideally we do this, if we have to, we do this.
Okay. And you just don't want to be flat.
Definitely not. Yeah, once I'm flat on my side, you can put all your weight on me. I'm not going to be able to hip escape nearly enough.
Okay. Awesome. Well, hopefully guys can give this a try and get some results right away.
That'd be great.